Welcome to Reiki Rising, your guide to all things Reiki and igniting your spiritual path. Join us every week as we delve into the transformative world of Reiki, sharing insights on how to navigate this earthly journey while elevating the vibration of the collective. Be prepared for deep discussions, enlightening interviews, and maybe even a glimpse or two into our live Instagram Reiki shares and conversations. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or new to the energy healing realm, this podcast is your sanctuary for growth, healing, and connection. Hey friends, so today we are talking about feminine rage, and specifically how to build resilience through the practice of Reiki. Welcome to the Reiki Rising podcast, live weekly discussion and Reiki share. Thanks for being here. Just to get started, I think that we should talk about anger and the constructs or ideas that we have around anger and expressing that specifically as women, as people identifying as female and female anger, and how that is kept so restricted in our society, in cross cultures, but specifically in America and in Western society, women's anger or female anger is seen as something that is not acceptable. How many of us grew up with the construct that our feelings around things that made us angry or frustrated were not accepted, that good girls didn't get angry, that we were seen as crazy or as unacceptable. And so we created this idea that our anger, or didn't create the idea, but it was placed upon us at a very young age, and we still do this with young girls as well, that anger is something to be hidden or to be kept inside, and that it can't be expressed and brought out into the world. We can't share our anger. That's not an acceptable emotion. So there's a lot for us to be angry about, to be honest. There's a lot for us to be angry about, right? The way decisions are being made for us, the way decisions have been made for us regarding our bodies, regarding what we're capable of doing, regarding our autonomy in general, the decisions that we're allowed to make about our lives, about how we exist and show up in this world. There's a lot of anger. There is also a lot of anger there about trauma that we've experienced, things that have happened to us, the way that our lives have gone. So this anger is being held in our bodies if we do not find a way to express it. But when we think of the idea of anger and we think of the construct of anger and how we see that in the world, we see it even within ourselves as something that is destructive. We see it as scary, maybe, that there is something to be afraid of because it's uncontrollable, because we've been taught that it's dangerous to be angry. There are so many flavors or styles of anger labels that have been placed on women despite what your ethnicity is. There's a label for you. We are under the impression that if we are angry or if we express our anger, that it makes us rude or unlovable or unlikable, and that in that we make that choice to cap our anger, to put it inside, to keep it locked away. But this over time can cause our body to develop autoimmune disorders, cardiovascular disease, anxiety, depression, cancer. Like, there's so much research that shows that because we don't express the emotions out of our bodies and move them through our bodies and get them out, we do store them. And as a Reiki practitioner and as someone who is trained in Reiki, and if you have studied yoga or massage or any of these modalities, you know that our emotions are trapped in our bodies if we don't find a way to express them and move them out. But there is this fear about anger because it's connected to violence. In so many of us, we have seen anger displayed as violent acts against others, against themselves. And when we think of expressing our anger, we have all of these fears around, well, what if it's too much? What if I become out of control? So there's this feeling, and I know for me, like, whenever I have been at a point where I am truly angry and I'm at that tipping point and it does come out, it feels uncontrollable at times. It feels like there's I have all of these stories about, oh, I lost my temper, I shouldn't have done that, and then I start telling myself that expressing my anger but was wrong. But in those moments that I can think of these clear memories of expressing my anger, it was because a boundary had been crossed. A boundary had been crossed, and it was a clear, defining no. This is not okay. I will not stand for this. So deconstructing this idea that our anger is something to be fearful of is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. Our anger is a signal emotion. It is something that is telling us what is important to us, that our safety is important to us. So maybe there's a safety concern and we're expressing our anger as a boundary. It's telling us when a line has been crossed, when we've been insulted, when we've been threatened in some way. It's signifying to us what is important to us. It's a signal emotion, and it is within the spectrum of emotions that we as humans need to express, need to feel, need to move through our bodies, need to embody as a part of this experience. It's our right to embody these things, and there are certain constructs for men and for women, and how people put you in those boxes and how they've defined those constructs for you. As women and young girls, we are told to keep our feelings and our anger inside, and to be quiet and to be likable and to be nice and soft and gentle. And that's what the idea of feminine energy is. But femininity is really embodying the fullness of all of our emotions, including anger. And for men and young boys, it's become acceptable, and it's been constructed that it's acceptable for men and young boys to be angry. Now, not all men and young boys, mostly white men and young white boys, because if you are a black man or a brown man and you're seen as angry, you're seen as a criminal and you're seen as a threat. If you are Latina, you're seen as female Latina's anger is seen as spicy, a spicy Latina. There's a flavor or a label attached to all of these. The crazy white woman, the sad Asian, the angry black woman. There are all of these labels that are attached to make us feel shame and to create a construct for us to stay quiet and to not express ourselves. So we have created these ideas that that's the box that we're supposed to fit in, or that people have told us that we're supposed to fit in, when really what we need to be doing is creating a space where people can have the full spectrum of emotions and learn emotional intelligence. And what is an appropriate expression of anger is a completely different conversation than can you express your anger. So we don't want to be necessarily expressing our anger in a violent act in a way that is harmful to other people. So we don't want to say, okay, yes, be angry and be scary and abusive and toxic and harmful to other people, to be violent. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that the energy of anger, the emotion of anger, is a healthy and valid emotion, and how you choose to express that emotion is what's important. So how do we bring the vibration of love, because we're talking about Reiki and we're talking about divine feminine love and divine feminine anger and feminine rage. So how do we bring in the vibration of love as a channel for this anger? What does that look like? First, we have to recognize what it would look like to feel our anger. So if we take a moment to feel what it would feel like, just ask yourself what it would feel like if you were to embody some little facet, some sliver of the anger within you. Something that's there. What would it feel like? What does that feel like to you? Does it feel like it is overwhelming? Does it feel like I won't be able to come back from that? Does it feel like you're off center or ungrounded? Our goal here with expressing divine feminine rage or anger and an expression of that in love would be to feel grounded. So how can we do that? If we've kept all of this inside for so many years, if we have all of these traumas and all of these feelings and experiences that we've shoved down inside of us, how can we bring those out? So many times we'll see these spaces that are, I'm going to be holding one of these workshops in the fall with a friend on feminine rage. And this will be an expanded workshop on this topic, but it'll also be a way for us to find a space that is safe for us to begin to channel this anger outward in a loving, divine, feminine manner with the vibration of love. But what we have to do first is we have to clear our channel. We have to clear this pathway for that love to flow through, which means that we have to unearth some of these things that we have shoved down. We have to unearth some of the things that we have dug really deep inside of us and buried. And this can be childhood experiences, teenage experiences, workplace, relationship, existing as a woman in the world, existing as a person in this world with labels put on us and with constructs put on us about how we can behave and what's acceptable. There's so many things that we can be very angry about. But when we are moving forward from a place of wanting to express our anger with divine love, with wanting to use this as a channel to hold our boundaries with the vibration of love, we need to get rid of all of that gunk. So when we are practicing Reiki, we are shifting energies that are stagnant, these dense energy, these things that don't serve us. All of these things that we've shoved down, they did serve a purpose in that time, but now it's just this vessel of fear. It's this vessel of anger and hate and regret and pain and sadness that we need to clear out so that we can find a space of centeredness, so that we can find our strength and our power within without all of that blocking us, without all of that getting in the way and throwing us off balance and using these past experiences as fuel instead of the situation at hand, instead of the feeling that is there in that moment. We can't tap into that if we're clouded by all of these other experiences. So finding these spaces, and it may be doing a one-on-one session with me or another Reiki practitioner. It may be going through a weekly body scan for yourself and finding it. You may be able to hold this space for yourself to express and to bring out some of that, to clear out that channel. But finding a space where you can begin to chip away at this, where you can begin to unearth some of that and dig it up in a space that is not attached to having to do it all at once, because this is going to be a practice that you are going to come back to. There's no way that you can sit down in an hour Reiki session, an hour therapy session, an hour workshop, an hour meditation, whatever that looks like, whatever that space is, there's no way that you can sit down in this 1 hour and unearth the full depth of all of your anger and process all of that, because there are so many layers to it. There is ancestral, it's lifetimes, past lifetimes, different experiences you've had. There's no way to fully move through that in just an hour, just a one and done session. This is going to be something that is a process. Like most of the work that we talk about, this is a process. It's not meant to be perfect, but it's meant to be a practice that we come back to. It's meant to be a place that we come back to these tools and these practices and guidelines for us to step into our power by releasing and moving through this channel love, moving through this channel grace, compassion, healing energy. And this can be with the assistance of your Reiki spirit team. We talked about this in a couple episodes about having your guides with you, about having your spirit team with you, your ancestors with you, and really tapping into that energy and how to call them in to support you during these sessions. These would be sessions where you would want that support with you. So setting intentions to do that, to call into this space, whether it's with someone else or whether it's with yourself, with a therapist, in a workshop, however that looks for you. Maybe even making a list of specific things that are on the surface here. What are the specific things that maybe not necessarily you are angry about right this moment, but things that are at the surface. If you were to take the cap off of your anger bottle, if you were to take the cap off of that and take a look inside, what would be at the surface? What would be the first few things that you would see, that you would begin to look at? What experiences would those be? And once you have a list of those experiences, take a look at just one of them. Pick the one that stands out to you the most, the one that feels the most raw, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe you want to pick one that doesn't feel as raw. And we want to sit with that experience, and we want to think about that experience and how we can embody what that was, how we can embody what those feelings were. And it's almost like time travel, like we're going back to this time, and this is why we want to have a supportive space. This can be very triggering. You want to make sure that you have a supportive space and that you are in the mindset to process these emotions. It has a place and time of its own to be done. That work has a place and time of its own to be done. We don't want to be doing this when we're already in a dysregulated state. We don't want to be doing this when we're already in a triggered state, when our nervous system isn't regulated, when we are feeling a lot of anxiety, when we're going through a lot in our life. So find the time that is right for you. Find the time that feels aligned to you to do this practice. And so one of the ways that you can do this is to make that list and to find a space that is supportive to you. And if this is on your own or through a meditative or journaling practice, to look at what was happening here. Why were you angry? What boundary was crossed? Ask yourself these questions. What boundary was crossed? What was this truth of this situation? What was it telling you? If you could have expressed your anger, what was it telling you inside? What was your intuition saying? Was it stop? Was this not okay? This is crossing a boundary. Was it an insult to you in some way? Why was that so insulting to you? Was it disempowering in some way? Because when we're bringing up the feeling of anger, we're bringing forward this sense of no. And when we're talking about divine feminine energy, when we're thinking of the female feminine archetypes of energy, like Kali, I work with Kali energy a lot, and Kali energy is fierce and it is also compassionate. If we are working with this energy, it is divine goddess mother earth energy. It is Kali Ma energy, is I am your divine protector. It's mother protector energy that we are feeling within us. So when I talk about deities and I talk about working with Kali, or I talk about, working with Mother Earth, these are energies, any deities that I particularly work with are ones that I am really accessing that energy within me. So when we're embodying this divine feminine anger or divine feminine rage, we are embodying that energy of Kali. We are embodying that energy of Gaia, of Mother Earth, of any of those feminine archetypes that you are aligned with. So if we think about a mother's protective energy, we're thinking of, no, this is not okay, and we're stepping in and we're setting a boundary and we will defend ourselves. That's the energy that we're wanting to bring forward, because this is full of love. It is full of, I love myself so much, I'm not willing to stand for this situation. I love myself so much, I am not willing to let you cross this boundary. I am standing up for myself and protecting my energy, protecting my body, protecting my mind, protecting my spirit, whatever it is that triggering moment that we are stepping in. We want this to be a channel full of that divine, motherly, maternal energy, that protector energy. We don't want this to be a channel for throwing up all of our trauma, throwing up all of our anger that has been tucked away inside. So we need to do these practices of pulling out those things and looking at them for what they are, to embody and feel that anger, to ask the questions, to even act out saying the things that you would have said in that situation. Could you have expressed your anger? Could you have drawn that line? Could you have said the things that you needed to say to protect yourself in that moment without this construct that your anger was not valid, that your feelings were not valid, that it was not acceptable for you to do so? Can you do that for these situations? Can you embody the full essence of the rage that you felt and express it within the container of safety? We aren't going to be causing harm. We aren't going to be causing violence. We aren't going to be destructive. We are going to use this fuel, this life force. This is another version, another essence of our life force energy. This is our prana. So when we can embody this, but not express it in a way that is destructive, that is harmful, it becomes so powerful for any work that we do. If we can use and tap into that depth of emotion and power within us, there is a reason they do not want feminine anger and rage to be expressed. It is powerful. I know that when I have felt those moments of so much anger and so much just furious rage flowing through me. How do you feel? I feel unstoppable. I feel like the adrenaline is moving through you, like you could do anything, right? So if we can tap into that and use it in a constructive way, in a way to guard ourselves from harm, to set those boundaries, to be grounded in that moment, instead of tipping over into this uncontrollable, crazy expression, right, that people were so afraid is going to be crazy or seen as crazy, is uncontrollable. If we can be controlled and embody that essence, what could we do? We could do a lot. Being calm and centered requires clearing out all of that energetic stuff. Clearing out all of that trauma, all of the stuff that has been lingering in there that will come up when we get angry. And it may be that we're angry at a situation. Why? We're angry at a person. Why? What is the reasoning behind it? The deeper reasoning, the seed of it. And where is that within you? What experience does that connect to? That's what we want to be looking at. We want to be looking at what that experience is within us that has been signaled, that is bringing that out. And it could be a past life experience. It could be something that's happened in this lifetime. It could be a family experience. It could be a relationship experience. Whatever that is, we are wanting to discover the root of it and to make peace with that root of that, so that this can be a channel for divine love, for love of the collective, love of ourselves, love of our neighbor, our family, our friends, so that we can use this powerful energy for good instead of destruction. Now, sometimes things have to be torn down. Sometimes we have to completely dismantle things for there to be something new, something better that can be built. But we can do this in a way that is loving, that is that maternal, Kali, for the greatest good of all energy, for the greatest good of you, for your divine purpose, for your plan, right? This doesn't have to be violent anger. This doesn't have to be anger that is violence against others, because we are all connected, and through Reiki and through the universe we are connected. And so when we commit violence towards others, we are also harming ourselves. And when we shove that down and we become a container for all of that hate and all of that anger and all of that sadness, we are harming ourselves. And whether we realize it or not, that comes out into the world and we begin to harm others. So we have to take care of what is within us, what is stored in here that is gunking up that channel so that love is unable to flow through. And how can we deal with that? So that's what we're landing on today, is moving into this Reiki share, moving into this next section where we are going to maybe look at one of those places that is within us. And how can we hold space for that place? How can we hold that space in love? How can we call in our spirit team? And how can we use this as a place of growth moving forward? Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey with Reiki Rising. Ready to take your spiritual expansion to the next level? Join us on the Reiki Rising Collective and unlock a world of connection and growth. Subscribe through our Patreon, link in the description of this podcast episode, and gain access to exclusive weekly live distance Reiki shares and enriching discussions. As a member, you'll also receive one-on-one coaching sessions, discounts on workshops, and so much more. Follow me, your guide in all things Reiki, on Instagram at Raven Waterblossom, and take the next step on your journey. Join us in the Reiki Rising Collective. We can't wait to meet you.